So for the longest time, we've been talking to our AI, right? But this week, something really fundamental just shifted. AI learned to stop just talking and actually start doing things. What we're seeing here is the birth of AI agents. And these aren't just chatbots anymore. They are active players in our economy.
Okay, so let's dive into this. First, we're going to look at the new agent arms race that's heating up. Then we'll peek under the hood at the infrastructure that makes it all possible. After that, we'll get into where these agents are already at work today. And finally, we'll wrap up by tackling the huge question of how to govern them.
And that's really the heart of the matter, isn't it? We're moving past the era of the passive chatbot and into the age of the active agent. I'm talking about a tool that can handle complex, multi-step jobs for us in the digital world. And believe me, this isn't science fiction. This is happening right now.
All right, so that brings us to our first big topic, the new agent arms race. I mean, the competition out there is absolutely fierce. And what's fascinating is that the latest moves from Anthropic and OpenAI show two totally different game plans for getting these agents out into the world.
So in one corner, you've got Anthropic. They're basically all in on building this platform for builders, a whole toolkit for developers to create super reliable agents for businesses. And then, in the other corner, there's OpenAI. They're taking a completely different route, leveraging their massive user base and turning ChatGPT itself into a kind of storefront. Yeah, an instant point of sale right there in the chat window.
And honestly, the only reason any of this is even possible is because of this huge leap in capability. I mean, look at this. In just 4 months, Anthropic's model jumped from about 42% to over 61% on these really tricky computer tasks. Now, that is not a small step. That's the kind of power-up that suddenly makes these agents genuinely useful for real-world jobs.
So you see, Anthropic's strategy here isn't just about a better model. It's about creating a whole ecosystem. They're handing developers the tools to build agents that can run for more than a day straight, agents that are actually safe enough for big companies, and that are smart about how they use their memory. This whole thing is about taking agents from a, hey, that's a cool demo stage, to a, we can actually ship this product.
And then you've got OpenAI's secret weapon, right? And that's just pure, massive scale. Think about it. 700 million people using ChatGPT every week. And a lot of them are already asking things like, where can I buy this? So for them, turning ChatGPT into a shopping tool, well, that's a direct pipeline into a massive, ready-made market. They're basically building a whole new engine for how we discover and buy things online.
Okay, so we've got the big players and their strategies. But how does this all actually work? I mean, for an agent to reliably buy something for you or handle a complex financial report, you need some pretty serious plumbing under the hood. So let's pull back the curtain and look at the invisible infrastructure that makes this new agent economy tick.
And this really is the million-dollar question, right? How on earth do you let an AI loose on a company's live inventory system or a sensitive database without it just causing total chaos? Well, the answer, it turns out, is all about standardization.
So, the first big piece of the puzzle is something called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP for short. The easiest way to think about it is like a universal adapter for AI. It's basically a standard that lets all these different AIs and different tools speak the exact same language. That way, they can connect safely and, crucially, it leaves a clear paper trail of everything they've done.
Now, specifically for the shopping side of things, OpenAI is open sourcing something called the Agentic Commerce Protocol, or ACP. This is the specialized plumbing just for commerce. It lets any merchant, big or small, plug their inventory, their real-time prices, even their brand rules directly into these shopping agents. Honestly, without standards like these, this whole idea of agentic commerce would just be stuck as a cool but impractical prototype forever.
Okay, so we've got the platforms, we've got the infrastructure, but what about right now? Where is this stuff actually being used today? Let's jump into some real-world examples, because these agents are already out there delivering some serious value.
All right, first up, healthcare. There's an AI agent that just summarizes clinical documents, and it's already saving the average doctor's office in the UK about £12,000 a year. Every year. That's a perfect example of AI just eating up that annoying admin work and giving clinicians their time back. Okay, now let's look at finance. A company called Rentley started using an agent system to automate their financial reconciliations. And the result? They slashed the time it takes to close their books at the end of the month in half, from 8 days down to just 4. That's a 50% cut. And if you want to see this at a massive scale, just look at IBM.
They're reporting that their AI agents now handle 85% of their entire procurement process with zero human intervention. Touchless, as they call it. That's just wild.
And as you can probably tell by now, this is not just some niche thing for one or two industries. I mean, agents are being baked right into Microsoft Office to pull together reports, they're in telecommunications managing networks, and they're being deployed in cybersecurity to help prevent analyst burnout. It is absolutely becoming a technology that cuts across, well, everything.
Which, of course, brings us to the, let's say, the inevitable, incredibly important flip side of all this amazing progress. Because as these agents get more powerful, more autonomous, the race to figure out how to govern them, how to keep them safe, and how to regulate them is really kicking into high gear.
And trust me, businesses are feeling this pressure. Looking ahead, a majority, 54%, of IT leaders are now saying that governance, privacy, and standards are their #1 priority. And another 38% point to security as a huge roadblock to scaling up their AI efforts. So yeah, the concern is very real, and it's right at the top of the C-suite agenda.
And look, this is not some abstract problem for the future. The EU AI Act, that's rolling out as we speak. Countries like Italy and Spain already have their own national laws about AI in the workplace. And over in the US, states like Colorado have hard deadlines on the calendar for 2026. The regulatory clock is definitely ticking.
So here's the thing. Agent security is a totally unique beast. And you have to ask why. Well, it's because they combine three, let's call them volatile capabilities. They can get at sensitive data, they can actually do things in the real world, and they can operate on their own for long stretches of time. You put those three things together, and that is a potent mix. And as a recent security flaw found in Microsoft Copilot showed, it can be a pretty dangerous one too.
And as you'd expect, as these AI companies get more and more powerful, they're starting to face some serious political scrutiny. For example, the New York Post reported on pushback from conservatives aimed at Anthropic, raising concerns about perceived bias and who their funders are. Now, for their part, Anthropic has stated that its funders don't have any influence over its policies.
And if you zoom out to the global stage, you can see this clear divide in philosophy. The US, for the most part, is leaning towards a market-led approach, prioritizing speed, innovation, and open models. But then you have the UN and the EU, and they're pushing for something very different. Global frameworks, binding rules, and more centralized control, all to try and ensure safety and get everyone on the same page.
So that's where we are right now. The technology to build autonomous agents that can do real complex jobs for us, it's not coming, it's here. And it's weaving its way into our economy at a pretty breathtaking speed, which leaves us all with one final big question to chew on. Our autonomous agents are getting jobs. Are we ready to be their managers?